And thank you. Welcome to the Greg Struss Show. I'm Greg Struss, and tonight we're doing what's known as a cold open, and not because it's winter either. I got to tell you, I don't know what it is. Scotty Joe Vegas, you're in the control room tonight. Let's welcome him via satellite. As
Hi, how you doing,
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you.
You look great. You're looking wonderful.
You got to stand up in the chair.
How's everything in Vegas tonight?
Everything's just fantastic.
Okay. I wanted to share this story with you because we always have like these long talks before the show, but tonight I didn't share this with him. So today I'm having a problem with the number 2 issue, okay? You know, like it becomes a shart, and that's a pretty serious problem when you're driving down the street. So I decided to stop off at a BK in Cicero because I had to go get some car parts. And I walk in, and the one stall that I need to get into, there's somebody in there shooting dope. And I'm like, really? I need to use this right now. Well, I'll be out in a couple minutes. I'm all right.
Was there paper?
No paper either. Then and they got to unload all their book bag and all the shit that's in the book bag, right? I don't even know what's in people's book bags. I can only imagine. So then I go to a McDonald's, and there's only one stall, and it's taken. And I'm like, I got to go really bad. And I'm not one of these people that just goes into places to just go to the bathroom and leave. I usually feel obligated to buy something.
Did you go in the sink?
No, but I was about ready to.
Okay.
It was horrible.
All right.
So then we're standing around here getting ready to do the show tonight. And for some reason, communication was a little bit of an issue, I guess.
Maybe he was in the stall.
And you ever stand around some, and please don't be offended by this, but we try to offend as much as we entertain. But I was like, there's this distinct odors. Like sometimes people have like a particular odor about them. And tonight I'm like standing in the control room. I'm like, Scott, did you kind of let one go? He's like, no. I said, yeah, you did. You had to. I said, you can tell me this. And he's like, no, it's not me. And it turned out that it was me. And Scott said, I had one in the chamber.
My Aunt Jaja, she would always say that she'd always have some must or some crevice smell, and she'd always deny it. And I'm like, it smelled like a crypt in the car.
So anyway, the election day, election day came and went, and Donald Trump is now the president-elect. So a lot of people were like totally shocked by this whole deal because Hillary Clinton was supposedly going to win in this landslide victory. So we talk a little bit about the popular vote and the electoral vote. So the electoral college and the popular vote. So the popular vote doesn't necessarily mean that just because somebody received all of the votes from the people or more votes than the popular vote, that that they're going to win that vote. So somebody could win by 2.5 million popular votes, but still lose the election.
Al Gore.
Because of the electoral college. If you remember in 2000, the much contested Bush-Gore election, where they weren't able to call it, they called it for Gore, then they called it for Bush, then they called it for Gore, and then they stopped calling it, and it ended up in court. But that was an example of where the electoral college, the candidate that won the electoral college assumed the office of president of the United States. Well, this is what I don't understand. We vote for the president on the second Tuesday after the first Monday in November on an even year. Well, what ended up happening is Donald Trump won the electoral vote, but the electoral college doesn't vote until December 19th. So is this really over or not? That's going to be kind of interesting.
More to come.
Or more to come. So I don't, and then people are pillaging towns and all of it because, they're not happy with the outcome of the election. And that's too bad because, that's how the cookie crumbles, as they say. So anyway.
That's how the dough go.
Yes, of course. Tonight we have, we'll talk to you in a minute if we can come back.
Oh, sorry. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
He'll be with us in a minute. And I don't know if I was looking at the monitor or I was looking at the camera. We've never done the split screen before. But anyway, we have Taboo Topics. One of the things that, it's kind of sad around the holidays is when people return to bad habits. It's called relapsing. We're going to talk a little bit about that as a taboo topic. in hopes of helping you understand somebody that has an issue with addiction or affliction or whatever you want to call it in their life. Real common sense approach. Some things from the personal side I think that we can talk about as well. And what else? What else are we going to be talking about tonight?
Relatives that disappoint you.
Relatives that disappoint you. I'm Greg. This is The Greg Show. We are reinventing community television here in the west side of Chicago. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back in just a moment. Okay. And welcome back to the Greg Struss Show. I'm Greg Struss, and we are coming to you from the west side of Chicago, seen exclusively here on Xfinity Comcast every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, as well as on YouTube with the search words Greg Struss Show. Now, I got to bring in my compadre here, all the way from the control room. Scotty Joe Vegas, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
And you're pretty chill tonight, right?
I'm a little out of my element, but I'm used to. I got to get my suntan over here.
You look like you have gas or something.
I could have a little gas. Sure,
Okay.
why not?
Can you check if we have like audio on our board over there? Just see the lights?
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. Hello, yes, I see chins a going.
All right. So we were talking before the break on how when you go to a public washroom, a restroom, and you know, there's people that will always go into a Walgreens or a store that normally doesn't have a public restroom, and then they trash the thing, and then when people like me, who never use the public restroom,
Correct.
need to use it, I can't use it because someone's either in there or it's out of service because some idiot trashed the place.
As you get older, you'll know what restrooms to go to because you want the 3-stall to 2-stall. Because if one's dirty, you still have one chance. One stall, under God, does not work all the time.
But I never understand why people bring their whole belongings and just unload it in the only bathroom stall. Like, are you planning on living here for the day? Because when I gotta go, I gotta go. And I was really short with the guy too. I was like, are you gonna be done soon?
Usually people have backpacks or alcoholics that lost their license, so they have to carry all their stuff around with them. Or they're living in, like, let's say a Craigslist thing where they're living with some crazy woman.
We were talking about that, weren't we?
No.
Anyway, this is an interesting time. It's post-election, and Donald Trump is the president-elect. And I think what I learned from this whole brouhaha of an election is that, one, how in the tank, I never understood, like, for years I heard about a liberal education. All right, I went to Columbia College, and then I went to Grand Valley State University. There was definitely a difference between going to Grand Valley State University than going to Columbia College. And I never really saw that there's anything wrong with, I think a liberal education is good because it gives us an idea of how the world thinks, I think.
Not all opinions of the Greg Struss Show are shared. Go ahead.
What's that? And,
Nothing, we're good.
I'm just sharing my point of view here just from my own personal experience. And I never really understood the liberal, that thing called the liberal media until this election. And how, and this term of in the tank, okay, that a particular network is. Now, when I was growing up, and it wasn't that long ago, there were only 3 stations, there were only 3 or 4 news stations, and that was it. You had ABC, CBS, NBC, and they carried everything. And then in the 90s, you started seeing CNN coming around carrying things. Then Fox News came along. Then you had MSNBC, you had BET, and now everybody and their brother, literally, is covering the elections. But more so from a liberal point of view.
Democratic.
So what is a liberal point of view? A liberal point of view is typically, what I'm gathering from this is that when when there's a Republican president in office and the media is critical of the president in office, right? That's usually, I think, part of it.
I'll give you my definition. No war, free everything. That's a liberal. Liberal's like, oh, let's save no pipelines, none of that stuff. Rednecks, Republican. I don't know.
So you're hunters, fishers, gatherers,
Yes.
and people that are considered the working class. They're not college educated in most cases. However, that's not true.
They don't care about getting cheated because they got a job.
They have a job. Okay, so more often than not, somebody that is
No
on,
freebies.
right, somebody that's on welfare, or somebody that is
55% disabled.
right, pro, what do they call it? Not,
Pro benefits.
some people would say governmental handouts. A lot of those people are considered, the Republicans are very against that kind of thing. But anyway, in media coverage, more times than not, it's kind of like they treated the president-elect as a sideshow versus a serious candidate, right? Except Fox News. They treated him with like the utmost respect and kind of was
And
reporting
NBC
on
treated
crooked
him
Hillary
okay.
and all that other stuff.
I think NBC treated him okay.
I think for a while, but you know what else kind of came out of this is that certain journalists could not score. Lester Holt had the first, he moderated the first debate and was criticized heavily for coming down very hard on Trump and not too hard on Hillary Clinton.
John McCain talked about this years ago.
Yeah, so anyway, I don't think we can believe everything we see on TV or read on the internet. It
Nope.
still takes a little bit of effort to be informed. And being informed in the, I don't want to say in the right manner, but not believing just one source as the be-all, tell-all for news. So some people called CNN the Clinton News Network.
I never seen a president lose and get covered that much. Oh my God.
So I don't know. I was watching all the coverage, and I mean literally every network I watched, and I was thinking to myself, okay, Hillary's gonna win because they said she's gonna win. She's gonna take the Electoral College, and she's gonna win the popular vote, and Donald Trump will be bye-bye on his way. As the night went on, Fox News was the only one that called it ahead of time. Everybody else waited.
Do you remember when Dan Rather couldn't say that Bush won? When he did that, he was just like, this just in.
So it was one of those things. And, regardless of who voted for who, I think we have to respect the democratic process. And now, there's...
That's in question.
And that's in question, yes, exactly. So Jill Stein, who is a member of the Green Party, I believe, she received less than 1% of the total vote, and she decided to call for a recount in the Rust Belt, which is, I don't know about you, I haven't changed, when I
In
took
Wisconsin, they were pissed.
Wisconsin was, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So you had Wisconsin,
They're trying to get
Michigan,
Michigan.
and Ohio. And Pennsylvania.
Yes.
All
Well,
right,
they were talking about Pennsylvania.
So it turned out that she ended up not going ahead with Pennsylvania because they didn't have enough money.
Yep.
But this is what I don't understand. In the third debate, everybody was focused on Donald Trump because they're like, what do you mean you will not concede the election? Remember that?
Yep.
You won't concede the election. He says, I'm going to keep you in suspense. So the next day, Hillary Clinton conceded the election, and now all of a sudden, when Jill Stein decided to go and have a recount, Hillary Clinton's camp was going to be in on it just in case. So with the Electoral College, these members have already pledged to vote a certain way, and now there's MoveOn.org or something that's trying to do a recount or trying to communicate with all the Electoral College people to change their vote to Hillary. Now this would be interesting because let's just say, for giggles, that they swayed a number of these Electoral College voters to go for Hillary. What would happen with the so-called peaceful transition of power. You know, people saying that it can't happen, not in this election. I don't believe it in a minute. It can happen. But people are just so upset. They think it's going to be the end of the world. Do you remember that?
I personally think, from me being on this earth for so many years, that it'll be business as usual. Trump will put his stamp on it, and in about another 8 years, we'll have a woman president.
And I think he'll probably end up going down as one of the most popular presidents ever because he's so hated.
He might just surprise us all.
Yeah, I think he will.
I hope he does.
And regardless of where you are in the politics, like, well, he's not my president, he's not this president.
He is
I didn't
my
know we had a
president.
choice. Do we have a choice?
He is my president. Right?
Right. Well, if you live here, he's your president.
He's your president.
Yeah. So
just like when I was at Hollywood Park when Obama got elected and said, "Congratulations, President Obama." I'm sitting there going like, "Did we miss an election? What happened?" I'd like to thank all the old people for voting and getting off your ass and going down to the voting place and putting that blonde-haired guy into office. And you people that lost, I'm sorry about that. But people that know me, they know I'm fair about it.
Well, and then the other part of this I don't understand is, if you didn't vote, you don't have a right to be upset. If you voted, if you got up and went out and voted, then you have a voice. But to be upset and start tearing up town and blocking this is what they did. They were standing out on 290, blocked it in the middle of rush hour, and it's like, look, I'm all for freedom of assembly, as long as it doesn't interrupt my work and where I have to go in my life. You know, freedom is one thing, okay? But when it starts impeding other people's progress and daily lives, then it really isn't freedom, is it?
Me and Miffy, we wanted to go down to State Street, but they were protesting down there. I'm like, you know, great you're protesting, but you're wrecking my chi.
Yeah. What I find interesting in all of this, though...
We didn't go.
You didn't go, okay.
No.
What I find really interesting in all of this, and people didn't comment on this, is how the Black Lives Matter people and President Obama were not able to close the deal for Hillary Clinton. So it goes to show, I think there's some weakening there. And then where the Republican Party was completely, everybody was predicting the end of the Republican Party because of Donald Trump and that it was going to implode. Isn't it weird how it turned out that the other party, that the Democrats, are imploding right now? So wherever you are in your politics really doesn't matter. This is why it's important to get out and vote, to register to vote and get out and vote, because that's where your voice is heard. And I think that's, you know, I think that's what's...
But Hillary was supposed to win Michigan. She was supposed to win all those places, and she thought she had the electoral vote in her pocket. And you know what? You lost.
It's like this.
You Hillary fans, I love you out there. You know
Yeah.
I do. I'm fair.
Truthfully, I was not. I wasn't really impressed with this election. I was glued to the set because I found it, you know, as at times when I was equally like angry and pulling my hair out of my head, I had to like take a deep breath and I laughed hysterically. Now I'm laughing hysterically every day
I did the same thing.
because all of these people now have to go through Trump Tower and eat crow. All the people that were like Brian Williams was, when he called a state, you always snicker when I say that, but he's like, and Donald Trump won Ohio. NBC News is calling Ohio, like a sigh. Martha Raddatz over on ABC was having a nervous breakdown. And yet these are journalists. We're supposed to be, you know,
But
supposed to be
people are watching
objective.
those journalists getting everybody shook up for they got, oh, she's shook up. I got to watch back. It's like they shut the camera off. They probably go like this. What's for dinner?
What it proves is that there are people that are elitists, okay? They're elitists because they make a certain amount of money. They supposedly have a certain amount of education, went to Princeton or Yale. You know, you hear about the president-elect eating at 21, all right? 21 is in a very exclusive restaurant in, I believe it's in Manhattan. This is where all the bigwigs used to go. Johnny Carson met his third wife there.
That's impressive.
It's a posh restaurant. It's been around for years. So when a journalist, a reporter says, well, we had dinner there, and no, we didn't have the rack of lamb. The working class people don't understand that, right? They're going to Hardee's or going hunting for venison. They don't understand 21, right?
A lot of them are going to the dollar store and not eating correctly because they're hurting.
Yeah.
Because they ain't got no jobs.
Right.
And you know what? If you go to college and you say, oh, we got to cut college tuition, wrong. You put more money on college tuition, keep all the morons out and all the kids that are serious, then they get their jobs. Screw that. I say more on college tuition.
More on college tuition? I don't know, because
I ain't
here's the
splitting
other
a buck.
part.
So go to the dollar store with me. I use a coupon at the dollar store. God damn it.
They have coupons for the dollar store?
You could use a regular coupon at the dollar store. Did you know that?
No,
like
I didn't.
Gain and Scott Towel stuff. Oh, yes.
Oh, I didn't know. I did not know that.
Yes.
All right. Well, coming up, we will be talking about taboo topics. I like this one. I think relapse. All right. Are we going to have a presidential relapse? Could we have a presidential relapse if the people don't vote as promised for the Electoral College vote? But that's really not the area I wanted to go. I want to move away from politics, actually, because I find that it alienates people more than not. So I'm hoping that we're able to have a conversation here about the everyday look into media and what this presidential election has been thus far. Now, I know the election's over, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyway, we will return with Taboo Topics after this. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And we are back here on the Greg Struss Show, all the way from the west side of Chicago. We appreciate you tuning in, and we're bringing in Scotty Joe Vegas from the control room.
Hello, baby.
So how are you going? You look like you could be like on my shoulder, like the evil. Are you the angel, or are you the devil?
I would say that I am I would be the, boy, it all depends on if we're,
I understand. Yeah. All right. It's that favorite time of the program where we say what?
Are we right in the control room? Hey, I'm in the control room. Taboo Topics!
And let's see here. We talk a lot about recovery on this program, and it's not about, recovering from your car. Okay, a car gets towed. That's also a form of recovery when you recover from the tow, right?
Correct.
Okay. We talk about recovering from an addiction, an affliction.
Recovering from a director not showing up.
Recovering from a director not being able to come in on his birthday, or a camera person that's got some things going on, okay? Anyway, recovery means that we're working on a new way of life without a substance, all right? Substance could be cigarettes, could be, for a lot of men, it's porn on the internet.
Amen.
There's also sex.
Ooh.
Okay. There's also eating, alcohol, drugs.
Wow.
Shopping.
Oh, yes.
And I don't know. I don't know if hoarding could be an addiction as well. All right. But
Endorphins.
Beneath the surface is an issue. All right. We're not born, now I come from the school of thought where we are not born with addiction. Addiction is a learned behavior.
I agree.
All right? So what's one of the ways that we can unlearn the addiction? We relearn a new way of life. However, part of addiction is cyclical in nature, all right? That's why the cycle of addiction, all right? That's why medicine's important, all right? Because for people that have an addiction, they might also have an underlying mental component
tooth.
or a mental illness, all right? So depression, anxiety. So as the clinician, the person has to figure out which came first. Did the addiction come first, or was there the mental component that came first? In a lot of cases, it's the mental component, because what the addiction does, the substance, lifts that person up, right?
Correct.
And it becomes comfortable. So as the person becomes addicted or moving into chemically dependent or dependent on the substance, there's new behaviors that come in, new rituals that come in. So just taking that substance away isn't really the so-called cure. There is no cure for addiction. What there is a thing called abstinence. That means not using. However, sometimes that just isn't enough either. That's why there's programs such as AA, Narcotics Anonymous. You see other fellowships. What else? Gamblers Anonymous. There's all kinds of things. There's psychologists, psychiatrists. There's church. It's called faith-based healing. I went and talked to my preacher. Getting down to the causes and conditions. That's why 12 steps, 12 traditions are very powerful. Admitting powerlessness, admitting that, admitting that I need help, and that
we all need help.
Yeah, and that there's something greater than myself out there. So it's become very politically correct. To be politically correct now, you can't say I believe in God. All right. So the generic version is I believe in my higher power. And
I believe in Jesus.
What's that?
I believe in Jesus.
Okay, so whether people accepted Jesus into their life, Buddha into their life, God into their life.
That's good.
Initial recovery. Recovery requires self, God of my understanding, and others, working with others, okay? Relapse comes in over a period of time of when, is it a choice? That's the big question. Is relapse a choice? I don't think relapse happens overnight. Relapse is when somebody picks up that next first time. So for example, somebody that's been abstinent and has been working a program and isn't drinking or using drugs anymore, and all of a sudden there's a change in their life. It pushes them over the edge.
Word.
They pick up again that next first time. That's called a relapse. Now, moving that person beyond a relapse, there's a lot of guilt, a lot of shame. All of those issues kind of resurface again because I was doing so well.
A truckload of guilt.
I regained my trust with family, trust with myself, and because I ran into a weak moment, I picked up again. And so many times people fall back into that vicious cycle for a long time because of the shame and the guilt. All right? As a family member, we've been through this a million times. You don't understand, Greg. He steals from me. She steals from me. She doesn't come home. She's always in trouble with the police. And we don't need that kind of harsh judgment. So it comes down to the people, places, and things.
Unconditional love.
And unconditional love. Yeah. And it's very difficult because, let's face it, when somebody has done wrong to us, even though we love them, even though there's the affliction, even though we love John, John's been good to us, and Mary's been a great daughter.
Mary's been great.
Mary's a wonderful person, but once Mary starts on that sauce again, Mary becomes a different person, and all of a sudden, all the progress that we made with the family and everything else, the trust, it all goes back to the last time.
Starts with a C, it ends with a T.
Something like that. So I always say to families, communication is best. Let's talk about things, let's be honest, and being, as Scott says, being around those safe people.
Safe people, baby.
Relapse is real, but it doesn't define us. It doesn't have to define us as the addict or the alcoholic or the whatever we are. It's a moment in time, and focus. I think what was very powerful, what I learned, is that there's a certain amount of success that led up to that. There was a period of success before that